So I'm going to start today's coaching with a good news, bad news joke. All right, so here it is. Good news, bad news. You're dead? What? The bad news is, you're not going to like the way that you died. So let's talk about how we deliver bad news. I have found in my life that there is a better way to do this, and most people do not know how. First off, if you think about that joke for a second, right? The best way to deliver that joke is to say the good news first. Good news, you're dead. And then you pause for a second. The bad news is, you're not going to like the way that you died. So you want to pause because you've got to allow your audience, whoever it is, to absorb the good news before you move into the bad news. If you go straight into the bad news, people are not going to get it. And so in life, if you're ever giving someone difficult news, right? Maybe they did something wrong. Maybe they did something that you didn't like. Maybe they screwed up. Or maybe they just need to hear some difficult feedback. The most important thing that I try to remember when I am delivering bad news is that I got TA led with some good news first. So the best way to deliver bad news, I have found through trial and error, obviously, is to lead with the good news, then pause, then move into the bad news. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. So let's say you work with someone and they do something that you don't like. Instead of saying, hey, you did this thing that I do unlike, and telling them all the reasons why you do unlike it. Instead, what you should do is say something along the lines of, hey, I really appreciate you doing that thing. It was great that you took initiative. Right, give them some positive feedback first. Let them absorb that. Pause for a second. Then you move into the bad news. Ever next time you need to do that thing? I would suggest that you do it this way because of this reason and that reason. When you lead with the good news and then you move into the bad news, it makes the bad news much easier to receive, right? Because what you re-showing the other person is that you not trying to pick on them or be mean to them or find fault with them. Instead, you're acknowledging the good things that they did, but you also have to tell them the things that they could improve on. So here's another example. You re-dating someone, and you go out on a few dates, and you re-getting to know each other. You might be thinking, do I like this person enough to ask them to be my girlfriend or boyfriend? Or maybe, you've been dating for a while, and you need to have a difficult conversation with them about something they redoing that you do and like. So again, don't go into the bad news first. Instead, start with the good news. Hey, I've really enjoyed spending time with you these last couple of days, or these last couple of weeks. I think you're a really cool person. I think you're attractive. I think you're funny. I think you're smart. I think you're kind. Pause for a second. Hopefully they're not eating that whole thing whole, and then you follow up with the bad news. However, I'm just not feeling a romantic connection with you at this time. Or if you were having a difficult conversation with them about something they're doing, you might start it off with something like, hey, I've really enjoyed spending time with you these last couple of days, or these last couple of weeks. I think you're a really cool person. I think you're attractive. I think you're funny. I think you're smart. I think you're kind. However, I do have some concerns about this one particular thing that you did, and I want to talk to you about it. So leading with the good news makes the bad news easy to swallow. Now, if you're the one receiving the bad news, the reason that this works is because you first feel appreciated, right? And everyone wants to feel appreciated. And then after you feel appreciated, you feel more open to hearing the bad news. Let me give you another example. This happens all the time in sales, right? Maybe you're reselling someone on buying a car, or whatever it is that you sell, and you're reclosing them and all of a sudden, they not interested anymore. They change their mind. Why? Well, because they don't feel appreciated. They don't feel like they've been listened to. So the salesperson has to go back, revisit all the things that they said the customer wanted in the car. Remind the customer that those things are in the car. Remind the customer why they wanted those things, and remind the customer why they wanted the car to begin with. What the salesperson is doing is they're reminding the customer of all the good stuff. All the good things that will happen if they buy this car, and then they make it really easy for them to buy the car by offering them a really awesome warranty, that covers everything that might go wrong with the car, free oil changes for life. All these other types of incentives that make it really easy for the customer to buy the product. In the end, the customer feels good about themselves. They feel like they got a great deal, and they feel confident in their purchase decision. And the salesperson doesn't have to be pushy, they don't have to be aggressive, they don't have to be condescending towards the customer, and they still close the sale. So whether you're in sales or not, whenever you're having a difficult conversation with someone, always lead with the good news first, pause, and then deliver the bad news. When you do this, the other person is more likely to listen to you. They're more likely to empathize with you. They're more likely to understand where you're coming from. They're more likely to consider your perspective, and they're more likely to be on your team with you. So what's one area of your life where you can use this principle? Maybe it's at work. Maybe it's with your family member. Maybe it's with your significant other. There is probably a situation that you're in right now where you need to have a difficult conversation with someone, right? Maybe there is a project that you were working on together, and it didn't turn out the way that you hoped. Or maybe there is a goal that you both had for the relationship, or the friendship, or the team project that didn't get met. Whatever it is, think about how you can use this principle to deliver the bad news. Lead with the good news, pause, then deliver the bad news. Now here's a question for you. Have you ever been on the receiving end of this? Have you ever had someone deliver bad news to you in a way that was so kind, so considerate, so empathetic that even though the news was bad, you still appreciated the way that it was delivered? If you have, please share that story below in the comments. I think it will inspire others and help them see how powerful this principle can be. You know, the other day I was reading a book and I came across a quote that I thought was pretty interesting. It went like this: "He who has a why can endure anyhow." That's a pretty powerful quote, right? Because if you have a why, if you have a deep sense of meaning and purpose in your life, then no matter how difficult things get, you can endure it. No matter how difficult things get, you can keep moving forward. Now that quote is from a book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And the author of that book endured some of the most horrible conditions imaginable. He was in several concentration camps during World War II, and yet he survived those horrible conditions, and he wrote a book about his experience. And the main point of the book is that if you have a why, if you have a deep sense of meaning and purpose in your life, then no matter how difficult things get, you can endure it. No matter how difficult things get, you can keep moving forward. The question is, what's your why? Why are you here on this planet? Why do you get out of bed every morning? Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you spend your time the way that you do? Why are you watching this video right now? Like, why did you click on it? What are you hoping to get out of it? What do you hope to apply to your life? If you want to learn more about finding your purpose in life, figuring out your passion, figuring out what you were put on this earth to do, I've got a whole playlist of videos on this topic. You can check it out. I'll leave a link to it in the description below. But until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for spending time with me. Always remember, you are awesome.